to Cigar Church, where our passion for cigars and our love for Jesus come together, and we are excited to be here today. This is a new location for us to film in. We are at Omerta, South Tulsa. If you're in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, this is a great place for you to come and get wonderful cigars, enjoy the company, and we're in the back of the lounge here, and so we're gonna have a good time today. I'm excited to be here. Today's theme is a unique theme. We're going to talk about something that maybe you haven't even considered in your cigar smoking experience. We've talked about how to pair a cigar with a good drink a couple episodes ago, but today we want to talk about pairing your cigar with your music. If you haven't noticed, there's been a lot of cigar music or cigar brands doing music themes, doing names of different groups, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But before we get into that, I think this will start some of the conversation off. We're going to go through what we're smoking. So let's start with...
No, he's got the original.
You're right. You are right. Let's go with Dan. I was going to go to Steve just because we always go to Dan first, but...
He's got
Steve,
the original.
You're right. We got to go to the original. What are you smoking on, Dan?
And if you're a fan of the show and have watched several of our episodes, you may have caught me smoking this before, is the Blackened M81 by Drew Estate. And with the music theme, this was actually developed with James Hetfield from Metallica, and he worked with them to get this blend together. And going off of the episode a couple weeks ago, it also is paired with the Blackened whiskey. So if you have the opportunity to smoke and drink those together, it's a great pairing.
Yeah.
But this particular one is I think it's a Mexican Maduro binder wrapper with a Connecticut binder and a Nicaraguan filler. And so this is one of my favorite sticks. I love this stick.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, it's important that we know that about what you're smoking, because what Steve is smoking over here
is the spin-off of that cigar. This is the Blackened M81 Shade to Black. It's a Ecuadorian Connecticut version of that cigar. More mellows it out a little bit. Still medium to full, I think, but
Right.
It's got USA Connecticut broadleaf, Nicaraguan fillers with some USA Pennsylvania fillers as well. I mean,
yeah, and so that's definitely changed by having that Connecticut wrapper on it. And you've smoked both of them now, right?
Yeah.
You've had the 81 Blackened. So
this is more of a creamy kind of version of that one, actually. I might like this one better.
Really? Okay. Well, that's interesting. I mean, this is your first time smoking it and you're barely into it, and you're already saying that might be one of your...
I like it.
Okay. Very good.
And you can either go Metallica or you can go AC/DC, Shade to Black. You kind of
go a little bit, go either way. It's really cool that Drew Estate's doing that with that theme with Metallica. I mean, do you feel like more of a rock star when you're smoking one of those? Kind of got to have that Beavis and Butthead, rock out kind of deal. Yeah.
That was terrible.
I don't know. I was about to say, I don't know if we want to leave that one in, but I think we need to.
You're on a roll, Beavis.
So I'm smoking a little something different. This is an AVO. I'm a big fan of AVO. We've talked about that a little bit.
Say ABBA?
No, not ABBA. We're talking music stuff, but not ABBA. This is not a dancing queen. That's his kind of music. No, I'm kidding. But this is the AVO, and if you don't know who the AVO cigar company is, it's one of my favorites. The AVO Syncro Caribe is one of my top 3 favorite cigars of all time. But this is just the AVO Classic. AVO was started by a guy named AVO, I'm going to mess it up, Uvezian. It's not a normal last name, Uvezian. AVO Uvezian, who was a concert pianist and had a love for music and a love of cigars. And when he left his music career and he started AVO Cigars, and everything that he does has a music theme to it. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But this is the AVO Classic. It is a Connecticut wrapper, which is a little bit light for me, but this is early in the morning for us, and so we're filming pretty early today. So I wanted to start off with something a little bit lighter, but it's also got an Ecuadorian sun-grown wrapper, and part of that wrapper is that Ecuadorian sun-grown too, but it's Dominican. And so really good cigar, really, it's a good mellow start to the day. But this one's a little bit older. A good friend of mine gave it to me, I don't know, it was a couple months ago, and I've been holding on to it. We think this one was from 2014. So it's got some age. I think it's lost a little bit of its punch. I think it's lost a little bit of that really deep complexity. It may be a little bit too old. But it's really smooth, really just a fine cigar to smoke this morning. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy those. This is going to be really interesting as you guys finish those up here in a minute to see what your take on both of those. So one thing we want to discuss today is the idea of how you enjoy your cigar, and it's not just when you come to a lounge like this. A lot of times there's TVs on the walls in this room. We've got multiple TVs, and there's a sporting event. Right now we're during the NBA playoffs. You might be watching one of those games, and our Oklahoma City Thunder's doing really good. And so, you may be watching, a sporting event. You may be watching, a movie with some friends, or whatever. Or you might just be sitting in a lounge and there's some music playing in the background. But one of those things that we don't talk about enough is not just the environment that we're sitting in, or the drink that we have with our cigar, or the food we just ate before we smoked the cigar, but when we pair our cigar with certain things, it changes the experience. And so when you pair your cigar with music, what kind of music do you look for? Are you looking to relax? Are you looking to get amped up? How does music change your cigar smoking experience?
I can say personally for me, when I'm listening to music, it really depends, because I listen to a pretty wide array. And so,
ABBA.
What is your hang up with
Hey,
ABBA?
you're the one that brought it up.
I love it. I
I have to admit to all your ABBA fans out there, I'm sorry, I don't listen to ABBA. And there's a story to that. My mom used to
you're gonna
love
get canceled
listening to
on
ABBA.
the internet.
I know.
Everybody's gonna hate on you.
Right. My mom used to listen to ABBA all the time.
Yeah.
For some reason,
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah.
But I do listen to several different genres, and sometimes it's relaxing music.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's music
Yeah.
to get amped up. So
Yeah.
it depends. I'm trying to think if there's ever a time that I actually picked a cigar depending on what I was going to listen to. And I'm not sure. The one that comes to mind for me is probably, because we go back to it some, is on a cruise. There's nothing like listening to island music while you're smoking a cruise.
Absolutely.
Have you ever paired a cigar based on what kind of mood you're in? Because usually that's going to dictate what kind of music you listen to at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in a good mood, you're not going to be doing some like super heavy metal you're not going to be smoking Metallica cigars. You're not going to be doing some crazy hardcore metal with it if you're just in a chill mood or whatever. But
Meaning if you're at a pop music you might want to do a sweet tip cigar.
Yeah, get that Taylor Swift in your groovy blue out, right? Let's talk through that a little bit, because the cigar smoking experience is about the mood, about the environment, about all these external things that are affecting you internally. Music's part of that, right? So that's a good question for you, who are watching. When you smoke a cigar, are you looking to create an environment that enhances your mood or changes your mood, or I don't know,
along with it?
Or yeah, absolutely. I've been in cigar lounges before where you expected a really chill vibe, and you go in and they're cranking some rap music or whatever, and it's a totally different environment than you expected. And that does change your mood, right? And sometimes that mood it's good that you had your mood changed, What else with the idea of music? What else do we look for? We were talking about this last night. When we were staying at the Airbnb, there used to be a cigar lounge in Oklahoma City called Maker Cigar Lounge, and it was a jazz club. And so you go in, and every single night there would be live jazz music. And they sold cigars and had a small bar there as well. But it was a completely different experience going in there and enjoying that live music than even coming into a lounge and listening to jazz music. You know, having those live musicians there changed the whole entire environment. Why is that? What is it about music that just really touches us deeper than other things do?
I think for me it's a mood. You know, we were talking about different moods, but honestly, if I look, usually when I'm smoking a cigar, I'm looking to relax, because to me, there's nothing more relaxing than sitting down with a cigar. And I think there's multiple reasons for that. Number one is breathing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you're more aware of your breathing. And it's funny because a lot of people talk about nicotine's you know, it amps you up, and you know, there's all
A
this.
little bit of a stimulant, yeah.
But to be honest, I'm probably more relaxed when I'm smoking a cigar, because you're taking time, you're breathing.
You're slowing down.
Your heart rate actually slows down medically. They've proven when you smoke a cigar, it lowers your heart rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, to me, it's a cathartic, you know, experience.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, if you're on a cruise ship or on vacation and you're listening to island music, you know, of course that puts you in kind of a vacation mood.
Yep.
And, you know, so for me, I think when I'm smoking a cigar, I think for me, my mood is usually to try to get chilled out and cool off, you know, because there's definitely days I go into the lounge and I'm, you know, work has got me stressed out. And if my boss is watching, you know,
Your boss knows work is stressful. Come on.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He does. But you know, sometimes you come into the lounge and it's just, I'm here, you know. So that's, to me, that's the mood I'm in.
You work from home, but for some of us, sometimes the lounge experience is a buffer between the stress of work and coming home and not, you know, biting your wife's head off or you know, yelling at the kids or kicking the dog, you know, or whatever. My Dakota, if you're watching, I'm not going to kick you when I get home.
I think he'd take care of me if you did.
He would. He would. We're going to get Dakota on here one of these days. But yeah, I mean, I think the cigar experience and the music experience are very similar because of how they affect mood, how they change your mood from one to another. And I think it's one of those things that people just get super passionate about as well. That, you know, when you talk to a cigar lover, they can tell you everything about cigars, whether you want to hear it or not. When you talk to a music lover, they can tell you everything about music, you know, whether you want to hear it from them or not. But I think because both cigars and music take you deeper in a relationship. Like if you're a metalhead and you find another metalhead, you just like, you bond instantly, right? If you find a cigar smoker and you're a cigar smoker, you bond instantly because of cigar. I think it's just one of those things that lowers the defensive mechanisms, the walls that we put up that keep us from bonding with each other, and keep us from having that fellowship. And music just, I think, is one of those things that just goes deeper into our soul.
It does.
Yeah.
Because I know if you listen to a good worship song, or
Yeah.
I love worship music, but after a while I got to turn it off because it gets you kind of teary-eyed, sad, but in a good way.
Yeah.
But
It gets you all up in your emotions,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. There's a few worship songs that when we sing them in church, or I hear them on the radio or whatever, it takes me back to like the first time I heard it, or it takes me back to like a moment where there was an impactful thing that happened. I had the privilege of being in Israel in 2018 with some friends, and that song Oceans. When we were on a boat on the Sea of Galilee and touring the Sea of Galilee, that song played. And it just, because we were on the place that song was talking about, on the lake that song was talking about, it's just, man, every time I hear it now, my mind goes right back to that spot. But I've had that same experience with cigars, like where I picked up a cigar and I went to smoke it, and the aromas and the taste of that cigar took me back to another cigar experience, or maybe it was that exact same cigar I smoked with friends, or on an island somewhere with a friend, or at an event or whatever. And it was like, oh my gosh, and it triggers something just deeper than normal words. And so music and cigars just go together. I love it. A lot of times
if I want to lift my spirits up, I go to 80s hair band or something. Takes you back to
That
childhood.
does not surprise me of you, man. Yeah. Who's your favorite?
You weren't back in the 80s, man. You're a
Dude,
nice kid.
Dude, I got my my good days in the 80s. 90s were the tough days, but I
went country in the 90s.
You went country in the 90s, man. I'm changing the subject because that, as I'm sitting here in my boots, though. But
country or the grunge stuff, I went country.
Yeah, wow. Who's your favorite hair band? You talk about your 80s hair bands.
There's all of them. There's too many.
Okay, all right.
Many.
Hey, while we're talking about music, let's switch to scripture, but we're going to look at a scripture about music because this is really important. And the reason we wanted to talk to you about this, because we believe as Christian cigar smoking men that our time smoking cigars is a very spiritual thing, that our time in fellowship with each other at a cigar lounge is a spiritual matter. When we're smoking a cigar on our back porch or by ourselves but that's our time with God and slowing down, as Dan was talking about earlier, to interact with God and to listen to the Spirit and to be able to connect. And the reason we wanted to talk about cigars and music is because of a text that I see in Psalm 33, and I think you're going to kind of see the connection. Psalm 33, starting in verse 1, says, "Sing joyfully to the Lord, you righteous, for it is fitting for the upright to praise him. Praise the Lord with the harp. Make music to him on the 10-string lyre. Sing to him a new song. Play skillfully and shout for joy. For the word of the Lord is right and true. He is faithful in all he does. The Lord loves righteousness and justice. The earth is filled with his unfailing love. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, their starry host by the breath of his mouth. He gathers the waters of the sea into jars. He puts the deep into storehouses. Let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the people of the world revere him." What I love about this text is it starts off with this idea that, hey, you who are righteous, sing joyfully to the Lord. And then it says, use the harp, use the 12-string lyre. And I have no idea what a 12-string lyre is, but it sounds like a guitar to me, or something along those lines. You got this harp and this lyre and play skillfully and shout for joy, and just this description of music and praise to the Lord. But then he gives us reasons to praise. He says, because the word of the Lord is right and true, because he's faithful, because he loves righteousness, he loves judgment. The world was created, by his word, and it goes into all these reasons to worship him. And what I just find so intriguing about this is the idea of being intentional about music, being intentional about what kind of music we allow to impact us and the purpose behind it. What are your thoughts?
My first thought was how the Beastie Boys impacted you.
Oh man, you were in on that conversation the other day.
That's what popped in my head.
My favorite band of all time are the Beastie Boys. License to Ill, greatest album ever made. And you want to bring the Beastie Boys in while we're talking about Psalm 33?
Did you say what come to my mind? That's what popped in my
Man,
mind.
I knew something was brewing over there. Because you see that? Did you look at him? Just a second ago, I looked at him and he just had that twinkle, and I'm like, something's about to come out. Something good's about to come out. I don't know if the Beastie Boys are praising God. I doubt it. But thanks for some good, comedy break right there in the middle.
That's what popped in my head.
That's what popped in your head. So let's think about Psalm 33. How do
it kind of ties back in what I said. If you listen to some worship music, how
Yes.
it affects your emotions. It's kind of goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's this intentionality, I think, when here's the deal. We're not against non-Christian music at all. Like I say, I love the Beastie Boys. Probably not the best. I'm aging myself because the Beastie Boys haven't been around for a long time. I mean, one of the guys passed away a few years ago. But I mean, we're not saying you can't listen to anything like that. We're not saying you shouldn't listen to anything, other than Christian music. But there's something. I mean, Metallica, you guys. I mean, my brother was a huge Metallica fan, so I know a lot of Metallica, but it's not necessarily my favorite. But when we're intentional about our time with music, because we've talked about how smoking a cigar is a very intentional thing for us to do and to set that time aside for a cigar. What if we were intentional about the music we listen to while we're intentional about the cigar, how much more can we enhance that time with the Lord and with each other? I mean, think about that. How would that change if we were very intentional, not just about the cigar, but about the music? Got you a little stumped there, Dan.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about it.
You think we get our home lounge to crank a little worship music while we're in there? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, they've got Bluetooth speakers.
Yeah, we just hijacked the Bluetooth and.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's, not everybody's into that, obviously.
Sure.
But
How about you've been to a place that does that, or sort of with the
Which one are you talking about?
is it the Hops and Hymns you said you went to?
So Hops and Him, and we can talk about this in our next episode because we're going to be talking about events. But that's a good thing to bring up.
That ties into what you were saying.
There's an event called Hops and Hymns where a bunch of guys get together, and they're usually at a brewery, and it's all about singing hymns. And so you go and get some beer, and it's 90% men, a few ladies there that are brave, and sing beautiful old hymns to the Lord, have a beer, and most of the places are in an outdoor venue, and you can light up a cigar, whatever you want to smoke, and I mean, it's just a beautiful experience, and you're bringing that music and that worshipful attitude in with that fellowship of the men and ladies that are there, and so that's a beautiful time. Beautiful time.
You mentioned playing worship music at a cigar lounge, so it's kind of they kind of do a little bit that there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you guys, how do you use your music to affect your mood? And have you intentionally brought your music into your cigar experience? If so, drop a comment and let us know so that we can maybe learn from you and that we can have some discussion on that. And we'd like to know that. So other thoughts on music?
Well, you saying that, see, I've never really thought about bringing music with my cigars. I had thought about the idea. We talked about it, but I've never really done it. But why not?
I just did. Yeah, that was the smallest little ash too. That's hilarious. So it's not just you, Nikki D. Not just you. But no, I mean, we're very intentional about everything else we do around cigars. We're intentional about the lounge that we go to because we like that lounge. We like the people there. We're intentional about what cigar we pick. We're intentional about the drink we have with it. Some of us are even intentional about what seat we set in the lounge, hey, that's my seat, or whatever. So why not be intentional about the music? It just will enhance the moment even more. So yeah, very good. Tell us what you think. We'd love to have some interaction with you on that. So how's the cigars? They finished. Are you still enjoying that one as much
I
as
don't
it
smoke
started?
a lot of Connecticut's, but yeah, I really enjoy this.
Man, I covered myself in ash over here. Has it changed in complexity at all? Is it kind of carried the same
all the way through?
Yeah. I'm curious to see when you get down to that last third how that changes for you if it does. So yeah, how's the M81?
good as always.
Yeah, you smoked those quite a bit, so yeah.
It's a solid stick.
Yeah, very good. And this AVO has just been great. I mean, it's been very mellow, but smooth, very smooth. Good first cigar in the morning. So, all right, let us know what you're smoking. Hopefully, you've got a good cigar in your hand right now, and you're enjoying that, paired with some really good music. And so,
Subscribe. Tickle the bell icon
tickle the bell.
to be notified when new videos drop.
You know, on the music episode, we could have come up with something better when we're talking about Strum the bell.
Strum the bell icon.
I don't know if I like that anymore, Steve. We gotta help this guy out. This is getting bad. This is getting real bad. We love the comments we've got. We're gonna start showcasing some of those comments in future episodes. So keep making comments, Steve.
And as always, if you got any prayer requests or anything like that, please comment below. Love to pray for you.
Yeah, we've had a few good comments that have been asking for prayer, and we've done that. We've prayed for those, and we'll continue to pray for those. So if you need anything, as Steve always reminds us, we want to pray for you. And so to be a part of your life in that way, that'd be a blessing to us. Anything else you guys want to add on music and cigars?
Music's good.
Music good, cigar good. That's Dan's advice right now.
That's going to be the description. Music good, cigar good.
If you learn anything, he's an ABBA fan and Beastie Boys fan.
I agree to half of that. Guys, thank you for tuning in with us. And as always, smoke a fine cigar to the glory of God. We'll see you next time.